Hey guys, welcome back. So now we're jumping back into our talks on Hulk with Hulk Planet Part 3, which at this point moving forward, from issue 11 to its conclusion in issue 14, Donny Cates has stepped away, so the series is now written and illustrated by Ryan Ottley. So going forward, we may see some things pan out, may not, don't know. But I'll leave a link in the description to the article from CBR.com in case some of you guys want to check out the details. But nonetheless, I'm here for the ride because it's been fun and we're only a few issues away from the crazy conclusion. So with that said, let's get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so at this point, when we jump back into Hulk Planet Part 3, we pick back up with Monolith taking Bruce to meet the natives, who, like we'd seen for the most part, they worship the Hulk because of what he had inadvertently done for their people, with bringing Gamma to their planet and evolving their world, as well as providing them with information and knowledge, which is why they call that event the Great Download. And so to celebrate his return, Bruce is invited by Pave to join their annual God Ball, with Pave being a big fan both figuratively and literally. But it's here where we jump back in, where Bruce is being given the rules to this annual God Ball game, and it's here we quickly find that there are some who very much doubt that Bruce's Hulk is the strongest there is, because one of these guys by the name of Brutal tells Bruce that he's about the size of his 3-day-old nephew. So if he loses the God Ball, they're gonna have to tear down the Hulk statue and replace it with a statue of Brutal's 3-day-old nephew, which is messed up. But then it's here where Captain Bruce has a discussion with his crew, and initially he mentions that he doesn't want to kill anybody because he'll be banished. But then if he takes it too easy on these guys, they're all gonna think that he's too weak. But when one of his crew members, which is another Bruce, reminds him that Monolith said that he can't hurt anyone here, this reassures him that he can participate in this God Ball, because after all, Bruce wants to learn more about these people. He wants to share experiences with them, as well as learn more about their world and their way of living, and eventually be seen as one of their own. And for Bruce, with him expressing these things to Brutal and the others, he lets them know that they can go ahead and get on with the rules, because he's ready to win this God Ball and get it out the way. And so it's from here where Brutal begins to tell the rules, with step 1 being to pick up the God Ball, with the God Ball being the core of a nearby planet or moon that they have beaten and compressed to this smaller size. And with Bruce hearing this, he's not worried about picking it up, that's not a problem. But rather, his main concern is that these guys are killing planets just for a sport. But quickly, Pave reassures Bruce that the planets and or moons that they have used in the past to create God Balls, that they were uninhabited. But then it's from here where we go to step 2, where we find that the next thing you gotta do is throw the God Ball at the ring of rocks that surround the planet. And with how this is done, the red team is on offense, with one lifting the God Ball and the red team surrounding them. But then on defense, you have the blue team, who make a second circle around the red team, with one defender on the rock ring. And every time the God Ball hits a rock, that's a point. And they just go back and forth until the Great Beast howls. And so with the rules established, they let Bruce's team go first, and with the way that he sees it, he's just going to play without cranking up the engine room in order to give the Savage Hulk a bit of a break. But when things get started and the first round of God Ball begins, they're also instructed to use open hand hits because this is their last God Ball and they don't want to break it. But even still, with that extra little rule being added, as soon as Bruce takes off with the God Ball, Brutal comes in with an open hand slap, and he sends Bruce plummeting back down to the ground. And when this happens, it's here where Captain Bruce begins to re-evaluate letting the engine room take a bit of a break, because now he realizes your 0 level Hulk strength ain't gonna cut it. So from here, with the red team having one more try before the ball goes to the blue team, Banner takes it up a notch and he sends the engine room into stage 1. And when this happens, it's very consistent with what we'd seen before, with stage 1 sending the military against Savage Hulk, with him open hand smacking a jet. But then we see on the outside that this also reflects the Starship Hulk open hand smacking the God Ball, which makes it to the ring of rocks this time. But when this happens, it really isn't much to celebrate, because Cuss from the blue team, he then quickly intercepts the God Ball and just smacks it right back down. But now with Bruce and the red team switching to defense, the blue team comes to get them out the way so they can score. And when this happens, it's funny because some of the members of the blue team, they very much admire Bruce's Hulk, and one of these guys who gets tossed off of him, he's just grateful to have the opportunity to try and take him down. And he just falls to the ground saying, "Thank you for the opportunity, World Breaker." It's hilarious. But then just after this, Brutal gets his hands on Bruce, and Pave gets snatched up by some other Hulks as well. But then it's also here where Brutal tells Bruce that all of this technology that he's placed in himself has made him weak, as he starts to rip it out, to only then toss Bruce back to the ground. But this is what then causes Captain Bruce to crank it up to stage 2 for the engine room, which like we'd seen before is the Fing Fang Foom. But now with the Starship Hulk operating at stage 2, Bruce is able to make the Hulk jump higher, further, and faster, which then causes him to catch up with Brutal, grab him by the horn, and use his body to smack the God Ball, which then scores 3 consecutive points. But also with Bruce doing this, it's very embarrassing for Brutal, needless to say, and it makes for a moment of celebration by the Red Team. But while they're celebrating, Pave gets a little too excited with him being a Worldbreaker fanboy and all that, so he smashes the God Ball, closed fist and everything, which ends the game because once again this was their last ball. And it causes Pave to feel really bad because he didn't mean it, he just got a little too excited. But with the game stopped since they don't have a God Ball anymore, the attention then shifts to the sky when a portal opens and everyone here is confronted by the protectors of the dimensional in-between space, who've made their way here because the Starship Hulk murdered their counterparts. And as it turns out, these guys are actually variants of the members of this team that we'd seen back in issue 2, who were completely annihilated when Banner had fell asleep at the wheel. And when these variants show up, we find out that every time a member or their team is killed, their counterparts from across the multiverse are notified. So as many times as these guys get destroyed, they're just gonna keep coming back. And now that they found the Starship Hulk, his current location's been updated in the registry. But as soon as they show up here, they take Banner and Pave because he's nearby, and they send the two of them to an isolated world where Banner can no longer harm anyone. But just after them doing this, Monolith then tells their leader that the destruction of their previous team wasn't intentional. And Monolith's able to share this information because out of the Hulks that are here on this planet, she received the largest amount of data from the Great Download, and she's continued to gather data ever since. But with her sharing this information with these defenders, they agree to bring Banner back, but before they can, Cuss comes down from the rock ring and he just smacks this team to pieces. Like one hit just juices these guys, it's crazy. But again, it's Ryan Ottley we're dealing with here, so these insane moments are bound to happen. And in the defense of Cuss, there's no way he could have known that the situation was being de-escalated with him missing most of the conversation since he was in space. But with this more recent team of defenders being destroyed, more portals open and more teams make their way to the Hulk planet, which then causes Monolith to be like, you know what, forget it. Forget trying to talk these guys down. So from there, every time a portal opens, she's just destroying the new set of defenders on sight. But after this, when we take a moment to go back to Bruce and Pave, who are sent to that isolated planet far from any kind of life, it's here where we find that Bruce has convinced Pave that since this planet is all uninhabited, that they might as well just smash it down to its core. And with how this is done, it really just feels like Bruce is trying to make Pave feel better since Pave messed up earlier. But meanwhile, back on the Hulk planet, with Monolith destroying a countless number of these interdimensional teams, she is showing no signs of weariness. But then eventually a team shows up. And I like this. A team shows up and these guys are like, you know what? We don't want none of that, because versions of themselves have been coming here and getting wrecked back to back to back to back. And I mean, it only makes sense that eventually one of these variants or one of these teams will come to their senses, and that's exactly what we see here. And it goes beyond him just seeing Monolith wreck all the other teams, because he tells her he's seen in the previous report that she had initially tried to make peace with his previous counterparts. And it's from here where this variant finally tries to pick up from the terms of that peaceful agreement that Monolith was clearly trying to do earlier. And so when this happens, Monolith, she agrees, and she tells this guy to put a word out to all of his multiversal counterparts to let them know if they see a huge green guy flying through the between space, then just get out the way. And he swiftly agrees to these terms. But when he goes to get Bruce and Pave to bring them back to the Hulk planet, the two of them come to find that Pave and Bruce have smashed this entire planet down to its core, which of course now means when they get back, the Hulks have a new God Ball, and the games can continue. But even with this happening in the background, with Captain Banner using the engine room, this soon, just after everything that the Savage Hulk has been through in the recent Banner of War event, and doing so against what was initially his own better judgment towards the beginning of the God Ball, as well as this lingering mystery of what's actually going on inside his head. And now this has all brought us to the point to where inside of the engine room, the Savage Hulk is now showing signs of hulking out again, which may cause the return of the Titan Hulk. And it's all because of Banner, continuing to use this guy in the engine room. Which on one hand, yeah, it's messed up, but I'm also eager to see the Titan Hulk come to this planet, as well as seeing how and if this ties to what we saw in Asgard. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, as well as even some of your theories of where this may go. Cause I kinda got a feeling that after issue 14 or so, this series is gonna have to go back to like the status quo, since the series is wrapping up soon. But even still, I can't help but to think about all the questions that haven't been answered, especially pertaining to the magic that was involved in creating the Starship Hulk. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.